graduate from Cal State San Bernardino. I graduated with a degree in biology and Arabic, and I plan to attend medical school.
Just give us an overview.
Okay. Well, so the S.U.R.F program, which is a summer undergraduate research fellowship program, is at UCI, so University of California, Irvine. It accepts undergraduates, but it also accepts master's students. So I would say that the real goal of the program is for people who are interested in getting either their master's or Ph.D. at either UC, but primarily University of California, Irvine. And when I say that, I mean that because you don't have to be a STEM major to apply for this program, even though there's plenty of STEM focuses. But it's pretty evenly divided between people that are going into biology, biochemistry, physics, pre-health majors, but also psychology, sociology, humanities, and stuff like that. And what essentially it is a, like I said, a master's and PhD prep, and it encompasses more than just research. But let's talk about the research first. So the first thing you're going to do is, when you apply, is you choose three, I believe up to three mentors that you would like to work with, so PhDs that have labs that are established in Irvine. And these things would either be that you've done or work in the past, or that you're interested in perhaps pursuing in the future. Primarily that second option, the stuff that you want to do in the future, potentially even at Irvine. So you choose these three majors or mentors, and you apply and you get to work in one of their labs for a course of 8 weeks. You do a quick summer project with them, get the feel of the lab. At the same time, you get to work with master's students. You get to work with other freshmen, but undergraduates in the lab. You get to work with PhDs and postdocs. So get the real feel of what it's like to be a member and also the operations of a Research One university. And at the end of those 8 weeks, I believe 10 weeks, you present your research at a symposium at the end of the 10 weeks, and that's either a poster presentation or an oral presentation. And that's just the research aspect. And so you kind of build those bonds. You potentially get guidance from the PhDs, the postdocs, and the professor that you're working with, potentially even letters of recommendation if you apply there, or other master's and PhD programs. But the other things that are included are mentorship. So part of the program is that you get to stay in Irvine for the duration paid for. And in the mentorship, there's essentially a group of master's and PhD students that come to the house every day, and you're able to talk to them. You actually have weekly follow-ups with them. And with them, you can kind of talk about your resume, your career goals, and how to best achieve those things, and how you feel things are going in the house, and how you feel things are going with your research, and kind of talk these things out with someone that is more of a peer rather than a mentor that you may be hesitant to talk to with. So that's one of the bonuses. Another really big bonus is if you plan to do a master's or a PhD, you have to take the GRE. So they give you, throughout the duration of the program, a GRE prep course, I believe, with Kaplan. And you take the prep course, and then near the end of the program, you take the GRE and report your scores back. So you have your GRE taken out of the way. They give you the prep material, so you get a book, you get a bunch of the vocab words that you need to take the test. And you get that out of the way. And the final thing is group activities, building activities, confidence building activities, application activities. So in the morning, normally you'll have these kind of sessions. Sometimes it'll be 1 hour, 2 hours. It starts a lot. At the beginning of the program, there's a lot more. But as the program dies down, you start to focus more on your research. But you do stuff like learn how to apply for research grants, like the NSF or Ford scholarships for your research, which are really important if you want to apply to master's or PhD programs, because if you have one of these grants, it'll really ease your access into one of these programs. So they teach you how to apply to these things. They teach you how to apply to graduate schools. On a weekly basis, you're working on your personal statement and your statement of purpose, and those are two other things that you need to apply to graduate school. And you're working with the Graduate Center there at UCI, and you're also working with people who are PhD candidates at that school who've gone through that process and written successful and accepted personal statements and statements of purpose.
Wow.
So you work with them, and they work on those papers with you. So hopefully by the end of the program, you've taken your GRE, you've done research, you've gotten a letter of recommendation, and then now you have your personal statement and your statement of purpose ready to go. So if you are in that purpose and you're getting ready to graduate, you can go ahead and apply right away. And if you're not close to that stage, you still have plenty of time to build on those things, but you have a very, very solid foundation. So it sets you up nicely. And one of the final perks of the program is, maybe even mentioned this soon, there's a $3,000 stipend for the 2 months that you're there. And then also free applications to UCI if you apply there for graduate school, and also free applications to any of the UC schools if you apply there for graduate school.
And how did you hear about it?
So I'd been doing research in Dr. Horner's lab here on campus, and she had met Dr. Azizi, who I worked with in Irvine when she did her postdoc at Brown University. So they talked about collaborating on a project that I ended up working on. So she told me about the program. He hadn't really partook as a mentor in the program before, but one of the students in his lab did. So she recommended the program as a means to facilitate this kind of cooperation between the two labs. She suggested that we apply to the program. Me and another member of Dr. Horner's lab, Alex Beachko, both applied to the program, got accepted. And that's how I heard about it, and that's how I applied. So I was always interested in expanding my research. So I had done the PRISM program here on campus, which is an undergraduate research program, an introductory undergraduate research program, and from there transitioned into research full-time in Dr. Horner's lab. But from there, I really was interested to see what research on the graduate level would be like, because as you know, here at Cal State San Bernardino, we don't have PhDs. PhD candidates in our science labs. So it would be really interesting to see what it would, for me it was really interesting to see what it was like working at a Research 1 institution and the kind of research that is being done in these laboratories. Because if you wanted to get a PhD, you would have to go to one of those schools. Mm-hmm. So that career option was always an option in my mind, so I wanted to explore that further. Also, I would also just say a pure interest. I was interested in the research that I was doing. I was looking forward to expanding upon the knowledge that I already had. So I thought it was going to be a good experience, which it turned out to be. I would say a readiness to apply to graduate school and the proper mentality for it. I think I would describe it as a dark, clouded area over how to apply to graduate school and what it's like to be in graduate school before I did this program. But a lot of those mysteries were sort of unveiled after doing this program. Excuse me. Working with graduate students, developing friendships with them and seeing how the work they do and the work ethic and the amount of work you have to put in to be successful in those kind of situations really, really, really helped. It was no longer a mystery. I knew how to do it. And then also the guidance that I got from the programs to showing me exactly what they required. So there wasn't any questions. When you read an application, it asks a question, but you're not exactly sure what do they really want from me. What's the best way to answer this question, But they break down these things for you. They really want you to get into these programs. And I think that's what I gained most from it was a readiness. If I were to apply to graduate school, I feel like I'd be ready. I knew the process and I know what I need to do to be successful. So I think that is huge because I actually believe everybody has the potential to be successful, but the know-how is what makes the difference. Everybody, you put in the work ethic, but if you don't know how to be successful and the things you need to do to reach your goals, it becomes astronomically more difficult. Mm-hmm. So knowing those things was a real burden off my back, and was really, really, great for me to learn from that program. My career path and what I needed to do to get to where I wanted to go. So that's one way it filled. Another thing was just giving me that research experience that I needed to apply to medical school, and that's what I am currently at, is applying to medical school, and I think that's really been a big plus on my resume. even when I compare it to other medical candidates, medical school candidates, is I have a large amount of research experience. And there was even a time there through the program where I was considering going into graduate school rather than medical school. And I feel like by doing this program, not only served my initial goal, which was to go to medical school, but if I were to go to graduate school, I was prepared to do either. And I think what really makes a great student is a person that excels at many different things and not just one thing. In that way, if you decide to change your mind or do something that you weren't planning to, if you decide to do PA or medical school or graduate school or a post-bac, as long as you're working hard and kind of diversifying your education, when you change your mind and decide to apply one of these things, you're ready. And I think this program really serves that well because, you know, if you want to go into medicine, you can still do that with this research experience. If you want to go to graduate school, you can do that as well. So that's one of the strengths I gained from it. I think balancing the many different things you had to do because you want to do really well on your GRE. So balancing a good research project with doing well on your GRE is important. So that's very difficult. And another thing on top of that, I was in the medical school application cycle at the time, so I was writing a lot of secondaries. So between those three things, juggling them was the most difficult thing. I think it's very doable. I mean, because you're being paid, so you don't have to work. Actually, you're highly encouraged not to work at that time. So you're being paid to be there. You have room. You have a place to stay. They want you just to focus on what you're there to do, and they give you test prep and they give you research time. So you have that time to really take advantage of the situation you're in and work on those two things. But I would say, being the person I am, wanting to excel, that is the most difficult thing, to be able to have to time manage those two things. And in my case, it was three things. Well, I think simply apply. That's the first thing you got to do. You can only get there if you apply. So that's the first step. If you feel like you're not quite ready, or maybe it is a competitive program, I don't believe you have to have research experience to apply to the program, but it's obviously favored. So if you feel like you're not quite ready, get involved on campus here. We have plenty of outlets, and teachers that are interested are picking up undergraduates. Different means that you can utilize to get involved with undergraduate research while you're here, and there's not only the UCI program. There's many summer. Almost every university has a program that's similar to that you can apply to. So diversify, apply to different programs, ones that are close to you, that interest you. Science is so much broader than we think it is. In classes we kind of get a taste of the basics a lot of the time. But there's so many specialties. Graduate school is the decision to go to graduate school is difficult enough, but to choose the specialty that you want to specialize in, that's when it becomes really difficult because there's so many things you can specialize. But the answer ends up being really simple. It's what you love. You gotta choose the research that makes you want to come to lab early, makes you want to leave late, makes you anxious to read those results when the results finally come in. So find the research that you love, because if you are a science major or even a non-science major, like I said, for this program, you're doing this because you're interested in it. If you're doing biology because you're interested in a certain aspect, find that aspect and find a way to get paid to research that aspect, and this is one of those ways.
Would you say there are any limitations on who can apply or what type of majors can apply?
As long as you're an undergraduate and you're interested in doing a graduate degree at UCR or UC, you can apply. Even master's students were in the program. So even if you're a master's student, need something to do over the summer and you're really interested in doing your Ph.D. in Irvine or at a UC, you can apply. But as far as I know, there's not really any limitations besides being a student. Particularly for the S.U.R.F program, you have to be a Cal State or a non-UC student, because if you're at a UC, then they have a different program, I believe, for UC students. My name is Nosh Ghossein, and I plan on being an MD.